Welcome to the Dealer Playbook podcast. My name is Michael Cirillo, and each week I sit down with the brightest minds in marketing, sales, and leadership to help you level up your career in automotive. Thank you so much for spending your time here with me today. Now let's open up the playbook. Here we go. Hey, welcome back to the Dealer Playbook podcast. I'm so glad you're here because today I am bringing you my new friend, Amy Bannor, hashtag or i.e. just a girl selling cars, or as you're going to hear me refer to her later on in this episode, Dr. Bannor, because I just felt like, you know what, that was the right thing to do. Maybe it wasn't, who knows, maybe it was a big flop, we'll see. But you're just going to hear a really authentic take on how to provide awesome customer service, how to build relationships, how to de-escalate customer frustrations, and also how to not be a robot on social media. All that and more on this episode of the Dealer Playbook podcast. Here we go. Hey, Amy, thanks for joining me on the Dealer Playbook.
Thanks for having me.
You know what? I'm really looking forward to this because, you know, I was telling you pre-show, we've kind of made this transition where it used to be dudes upon dudes upon dudes on the show. And I think for the first time ever now in season 6, we've got more female guests on the show than male guests. And I'm actually particularly excited about that because we're seeing this, I don't want to call it a revolution because that's just way too, you know, we're all going to take to Facebook now and talk about the Dealer Playbook revolution and start protests. But like, you know,
change the tides a little bit.
Yeah, changing the tides. There's this powerful group of women in automotive who have such powerful thought leadership, who have powerful processes, aha moments. And so I'm excited now to have you on the show and dive into this with you, get your take and your spin on what's happening out there and what's working for you. I know there's a lot of individuals that listen to the show who are out there right now that don't know these conferences exist, maybe don't even know this show exists or some of the other resources out there. And I'm just so excited at the thought of that individual just stumbling upon the show. Their first episode is this episode with Amy Bannor, and they're all of a sudden going to get this access to information. They're going to jump inside our brains for a minute and go, holy crap, what else have I been missing?
Exactly. Yeah.
So thank you for taking the time. You know, I want to kick this off with maybe just hearing a little bit about your background. I mean, you've mentioned, you know, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's been 7 years with this dealer group that you're with right now. You've been a sales manager, you're working the front lines, all these sorts of things. What made you want to get into the automotive industry? And, you know, just maybe tell me a little bit about your story.
Sure. So, you know, like any kid, I guess, when I was in my early 20s, I kind of was maybe at a little bit of a loss of what I was going to do and with my career. And I was always really good at school. I mean, school always came easy to me. I struggled with the politics of college quite a bit. But I was always very independent. I always had that kind of entrepreneurial type, like I can do this on my own type thing. And I fell into sales, not cars, not anything like that, but I fell into sales probably when I was 22 and started making some really good money. So school kind of went on the back burner. And I was always really successful. I was selling cell phones, number one in this, number one in that, you know, breaking records, doing this stuff. And I thought, okay, so there's money to be made. And when you're young and you start making money, it's really enticing. And I thought, okay, I'm going to move to the big city of Fargo because I'm from a small town, Bemidji, Minnesota, sure. About 15,000 people. And Fargo's $250,000. So ended up over here selling some other stuff and ended up selling wedding dresses for 3 years. Great job to learn selling skills, by the way. Talk about selling on emotion and selling something that every dress is, you know, it's pretty much a white to ivory dress with beads. So you really learn to you really learn to sell on emotion. You're dealing with a lot of females, a lot of you know, high opinions and stuff. And so long story short, I liked that job. It was good, but I remember hitting this. I was number 5, I believe, and now this is going back about 8 years ago. I was number 5 in the country for David's Bridal, which is a chain. And I remember looking at my paycheck, and I remember going, well, there's not really a place to climb unless, as a salesperson, unless I jump, I suppose, into management. And I was making as much money as my managers were. And I remember going, okay, I'm young, no kids, no whatever. I need to try and sell something a bigger ticket. And I didn't know really much about cars. I mean, I knew I had a car. I knew I liked it. I knew, that I just liked sales. I liked sales in general. And I was always I can figure this out type person. So I applied and I got a job at Corwin Automotive, which is where I'm at now. And that was back in 2009. And yeah, the rest is kind of history. And so I jumped in feet first, really fully committed, really fully excited. And I just muddled my way through that first 6 months to a year to figure stuff out. And it obviously, and I still do that to this day. Like, I do not feel like I know everything. Every day I learn something about this industry.
Sure.
So,
okay. Yeah. So let me ask you this because, well, first of all, be honest. How many dresses did you try on while you worked at Davis Bridal?
Anytime a new style came in and it was in my size, I was definitely jumping in that thing to check it out. Why not? You got to know your product.
Yeah, there you go. What intrigues me about this is you go from selling an item that, I have a little girl. She's 3 years old, and she already dresses up in costumes to, sure, make her feel. And I have 4 sisters, and I know the routine. So you go from selling an item that little girls dream about owning from the time they can gather their cognitive resources.
Sure.
To selling an item that
little boys dream of.
that little boys dream of, but also in a space that the media perpetuates this defamatory idea, the car business. And you and I think can both agree that this is one of the greatest industries on the planet. It's filled with some incredible people. But for some reason, this negative stigma keeps flowing and, oh man, the bad experience this and the bad experience that. So when you made the transition, what were some of the discoveries you made? What were some of the challenges you faced as you transitioned into the automotive business?
I know my biggest fear when I said yes to the job, when they gave me the job and they said, here's your start date, I 100% remember this giving me a pit in my stomach was product knowledge. Here I'd been selling something that, a wedding dress, basically I needed to know size. I needed to know a few styles that looked good on different body types. And then I just let the customer lead me. With cars, I was fearful of, because I started off in Toyota, and Toyota's a fairly large lineup, and I didn't even know what vehicles Toyota had, let alone knowing trim levels and options. And so that was my biggest fear. That was probably my biggest thing I had to overcome, like, I guess, of anything. But the one thing I was really confident in, and I suppose my other sales had helped with this, I was very confident in my ability to speak to the customer and to make them feel at ease. So as far as like the negative tone, yes, I would get customers in front of me. We all do in this industry that have their guard up beyond belief because they have had bad experiences. Me, I over time just learned how to really instantly relate to someone and just kind of let them experience the process in a good way. Just let them know that I'm here to help them. I'm here to solve their problems. I'm here to do this. And I don't think have I had bad customers? Yes, of course we all have, but that's in any industry. As a rule, we are an industry that consumers are scared of. They're scared of the process because it's a lot of money. It just is. So I would say for me it was product knowledge, but we do come across customers. It's just about getting their guard down. I think that would be, with the way the stigma is in this industry, I think that is probably the biggest maybe advantage that I had, is that I'd already had some of that experience of dealing with people and how to relate to them pretty quickly and let them know that, it's okay. It's okay that you're afraid of this. It's okay. We'll do this together.
Sure. So, and along this line, what was your aha moment coming into this where you were like, wait a second, there's an opportunity for me as an individual to really shape the customer experience the way I believe it needs to be. And I mean, what did you encounter in that journey? Was it an overnight thing? Was it a step-by-step thing?
No, that's a good question. I don't know if there was a specific aha moment, but personally, I mean, I came into this industry when I was 26 and 26 years old. And when I got that first big commission paycheck, that was an aha moment for me, knowing like, okay, I can now take care of myself no matter what. Like I have the ability to put myself in the top 5% of income levels. And as long as I work hard and do this and learn, and it just excited me. So I would say as far as time goes on, I would say it's probably been a slower process, not necessarily an aha moment, but a slower process, realizing, because when I was new, I was excited and I was making money. And I think that at the time I didn't realize the reason I was making money was because I naturally had some advantages that other salespeople don't. I didn't know that though. I only knew what I knew. I only knew that customers liked working with me because I was nice, friendly, solved problems, called them back, under promised, overperformed. That was just what I've done naturally since I've been in sales. So as time's gone on, I've realized as I've kind of broadened my perspective on the industry as a whole, I realized not all people understand that, just maybe what I had innately or at least had learned in prior jobs. So over time, it was something that I realized like, wow, I can probably make an impact in this industry, even just guiding people as turning it. I mean, I believe it's a customer service industry more than an actual retail industry.
Okay, let's explore this, because that was, as you were speaking, my brain was already like, okay, let's fast forward to today.
Okay.
What you're doing, the success that you've built for yourself. What I love is you've mentioned, I'm still learning every day. I don't know everything there is to know, but I'm still learning. But you must have made some conclusions about what works better in helping people make a purchase than perhaps what some other people do that we see, where it's just very like in your face and very aggressive. What are you seeing that's worked for you? What would you say is the biggest contributor to the success that you have today?
So if I look back at like some of the probably like moments that I remember from maybe even quotes or whatever, some of the things that have always stuck with me is to replay every deal. Like, I don't want to say in your head, sound like I'm crazy, but every customer I talk to, whether I sell them a car, whether I don't, when I'm away from them, I replay that kind of in my own head or to myself. I don't necessarily go and talk to someone, but I always go, was there something I could have done different, or what made this successful? And I still do that to this day. And I think it's actually, I think it's not undiagnosed OCD, but, but I do that to this day. And every person I come in contact with, I genuinely really go through mostly like the language that I use and the words. And I have this affinity to check, to the psychology of it, I guess, and going, oh, if I would have said this or done this or tried this, would it have been better? So I think that's something that's really helped me along the way. Also, just knowing kind of where my weaknesses are. I mean, when I first started in this industry, I was a fairly aggressive salesperson. I'm still an aggressive salesperson, but I've learned ways to make the customer, and I don't want to say it's make them feel a certain way, but I've learned to side with the customer and say, okay, this is why, and I listen. I think I'm better at listening to a customer now than I was when I first started. I think when I first started, my excitement was to tell, sell. And now I still want to sell, but I want to do it. I want to do it for their first car, their second car, their third car, their fourth car as well. So it's much more of a long-term process when I'm sitting in front of someone, I guess.
And so this is probably, over the years as you've done this, let's call it a debrief, because the replay, and oh, did I, we don't want people going out there being like, oh, did I, oh, let me text them. I got to say it differently now.
Yeah.
No.
No.
But the debrief, as I guess a standard practice, the debrief along the way has gotten you to a point where maybe you made the connection to, oh, wait, I need to listen more, or I need to look at the long term of this client. I mean, are those things that came along the way in those debriefs for you? Hey, this is Michael Cirillo from the Dealer Playbook podcast. Don't you find it interesting that the automotive industry's been using the internet to do marketing for like 20 years, yet today everyone's still complaining that it just isn't working the way they hoped it would? Whether the cost is too high, it's time consuming, we're not getting results, the list goes on. And to make matters worse, nobody really knows who they can trust as a marketing partner. Flex Dealer is an inbound marketing agency for car dealers. We've invested over $1 million of our own dollars to identify what works and what isn't working online so that you don't have to. Consumers don't want to be sold or pitched to. They want to be educated and build relationships of trust with you and your people. Not only that, there isn't a one-size-fits-all marketing approach that works for every dealership. Your business is unique, and it's time for car shoppers to know why they should choose you over the competition. So if you'd like your money to go further while simultaneously increasing your sales and influence in your community, my award-winning team would love to partner with you. That's why we're putting together something really special. For a limited time or 20 dealers, whatever comes first, Flex Dealer has a special $6,000 exclusive Dealer Playbook offer just for you. To learn more, go to www.flexdealer.com/DPB. Now back to the show.
Oh, absolutely. Or like sitting there, especially on the ones where your customer left happy, they bought, they're excited. Those are the ones you really want to analyze, and you want to go, okay, so what did I do right on this? Like, and you might kind of think to yourself and kind of feel that moment of pride when you're like, wow, it was really cool that I connected with them about this, or it was really cool when I came up with this car instead of that, because they weren't digging the first, or it was really cool that I asked that specific question. And it's not necessarily that's going to set you up for that next deal, because every customer is unique, but it may just, when I was managing, I used to load lips. I'm sure we've all heard that. And so part of the loading the lips is just, you learn to kind of do that for yourself, I guess. You just kind of learn to go, okay, maybe even take half a second to think before you speak. And so it's not, I don't condone anybody going out there and going, oh, I have to text the customer now because I just thought of something. No, don't do that. That's not what I mean. I just mean analyze what you did and didn't do correctly. And then just realize that, hey, on the next try, maybe not speak so much, but listen, because that seems to help in deals or whatever the situation may be. It just shapes you. It just shapes you.
What I love about it is it's a practice that you implemented. It's a habit that you developed that kind of increased your self-awareness and emotional intelligence.
Sure.
Not to say that you weren't emotionally intelligent before, but I mean, speaking from my own experience.
Is there any emotionally intelligent 26-year-old?
Good point. Good point. But I love that because, oftentimes I find it's human nature, right? We want to shoot to the top as quickly as we possibly can. Oh. It's not sustainable, though. We see a lot of people that rise too quickly, fall really quickly, and we never make the association as to why that is. In my opinion, it's because they missed out on all of the lessons that they learned that they could have learned in that journey to the top. And so what I love about this is you're saying, hey, look, here's a very real, simple thing that you can do after every sale, or maybe it's at the end of your day before you go home, at least setting some time aside to say, okay, how did today go? How did that how did that sale go? How did I build a relationship? What could I do differently tomorrow? What I can only assume is that once you made some conclusions, you would actually put them into effect, which I think a lot of people struggle with.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's probably you hit the nail on the head there. It's like we can all wish and think all the time, but if you do not implement those ideas and you don't put them into practice, they mean nothing. It's really genuinely about, taking the time to think about it, but then to put it into action and to use those ideas and thoughts and write stuff down, take notes, all that stuff. I mean, just try to better yourself every day. Just try to do something that just makes you a little better at your job, a little better with customers. Basically, any little improvement. Small steps are still steps. Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So take small steps. So what along the way, because you mentioned this is kind of this was an inherent skill set almost that you brought over from previous sales experience, and so you kind of had this platform to build from coming into the car business. Were there any resources particularly that you took advantage of to help you make these conclusions? Like, hey, I need to debrief, or I need to listen to my customers more? I mean, or were these just things that came as you decided, hey, I'm going to debrief and here's the conclusions I make?
Yeah, I've always been a reader. And I love, but that's been since I've been able to read, like I don't even know. I mean, I remember literally reading books in elementary school. We used to have contests, and my teacher's like, "You're reading that?" I mean, that's like what I read last week. And so I've always enjoyed that. And I really attribute that to actually kind of the start of my natural desire to like learn. And I think that I just have, I can't say there's necessarily an aha moment for that.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as like resources I use, currently the resources I use, Google. I mean, it always makes me laugh when people will run around and spend way more time doing something when they have this powerful tool in their fingertips called a smartphone. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
this smartphone will do wonders for you. And I think people sometimes, I don't know if they forget it, or they just don't slow their brain down enough to go, okay, wow, instead of doing all that, I could literally just hit a button, type something in, and get an answer.
It's funny you say this, because, working in the marketing and technology space, it boggles my mind at how many people, I mean, we're this far into it. It's 2016. How many people still don't know that you can go to Google and ask a question? Like, they don't realize that even when they type something in like restaurant hours, they're actually asking Google a question already. So it's already part of their brain power, I guess, to ask Google questions. But when it comes time to do anything else, they forget, oh, right, I can go to the smartest entity I know of, Google, and ask it anything, and probably find 80 million pages worth of information. So I love that. There's that. Have you seen that website? It's Let Me Google That For You.
No.
Okay. Well, I use, sorry, Dad, but I use this on my dad all the time, because he'll come to me, he'll call me up, and he'll say, Hey, bud, how do you do this? And so I'll go to this, Let Me Google That For You. It's lmgtfy.com. Let me Google that for you.com. You type in the query, it gives you a link. You send that link to whoever asked you the question, and it brings up a Google page where you see the cursor move to the search box. Your dad
thinks you're a genius.
He thinks I'm an idiot. He's like, oh, thanks, I could have done that. And I say, exactly. You could have done. So that's, I love that, because that's raw and that's real. And it's like, a lot of people go, well, when I enrolled in course ABC at, as I did my after hours sales training with blah, 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 blah. Google.
As I'm sitting on a test drive in a used car, and they're like, what's the mile per gallon? And I go, let me tell you. Click. Hey, Google, what's the MPGs of a 2004 Mitsubishi?
You know what? That right there. That is genius, because because part of them, I think part of us go, oh yeah, why didn't I think of that? Like, she knew to do that, therefore she is. But how's that any different than what a doctor does?
Always.
I'll tell you what, I've been to the doctor several times where I'm like, dude, what's going on in the mouth or something like that, and he'll be like, hold, and they walk away. They're hitting the iPad in their office going, weird looking cyst tumor thing. Yeah, and they're coming back, oh yeah, that's definitely strep throat or whatever. And so why would we not utilize that same process, to streamline? It boggles my mind
that people don't,
And hey, I'm going to get you the answer right now.
Yeah,
absolutely. So as part of this, I mean, because this is, like you said, this is customer service stuff. And to your comments earlier, this is more, in your opinion, a customer service industry than it is a retail or a sales industry.
100%.
What have you found that works well? I mean, we've talked about listening, debriefing, self-improvement, that sort of a thing. In the moment,
okay,
what are some things you found that work well to perhaps disarm an aggressive customer, or to just kind of read the individual so you know how to meet them in the middle?
The biggest equalizer ever, right? And get ready to write this down, because it is magic.
I'm writing it down.
I mean, it's magic.
Okay.
Laughter. That's all it is. Just get them to smile and get them to laugh. And you never, ever cross into anything offensive. It's not about being sarcastic if you know the person's not sarcastic. It's literally just about getting them to smile and getting them to giggle or laugh. I mean, a smile, people feel better when they smile. And if you can make someone smile, it breaks down a lot of that barrier. It doesn't break it all down, but that's the trick. And once you do that, then you just go from there.
This is genius because I kid you not, about a week ago, when I was in the middle of my strep throat that the doctor diagnosed from his iPad. It's not a tumor. It's strep throat. I was on YouTube. I was on YouTube, and you know how it happens. You just start disappearing into the abyss of the YouTube black hole. And I ended up on a ton of Don Rickles comedy. Like, he was on the Johnny Carson show. He was super sarcastic and super abrasive, but almost at the end of every one of his routines, he'd say, hey, look, everyone, it's all about laughing together. It's all about laughter. It's all about being unified on things that make us laugh. I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm here because laughter unites us. It
does.
And so what I find intriguing about this is you're saying, okay, well, the greatest equalizer now is laughter. Because I'm going to be honest with you, not that I haven't been up to this point. I just said the one thing I hate saying more than anything.
I bring that out of people. They start to stutter.
There are some really not funny people. So what do you say to the guy who knows he's not funny? I mean, there are guys that think they're hilarious. I say guys, but I mean the group in general. There are people who think they're hilarious, who are just absolutely not, who you just want to give that swift like punch to the esophagus to get them to shut up. How does this work for them? How do they go into this?
Are you talking like a customer that comes in that I'm going to have a tough time getting to laugh, or like another salesperson that I'm trying to tell?
Another salesperson who, because there are people listening to this right now going, well, this is fine and dandy, and I can perhaps get a sense that Amy's got a light side and Michael's got a light side.
Sure.
But I don't. I'm used to be serious. I'm a serious person. I'm the professional. I wear my 3-piece suits and blah, 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 and I haven't figured out who I am anymore. And I'm going to walk into a conversation and say something stupid like, how about Hillary Clinton? And it's going to be like this, it's going to be this disaster, right? Or how about what Trump said,
nominees we've got.
And they're going to be laughing by themselves.
What would I say to that? I one time heard something, and I don't even remember where I heard it. So I'm not trying to. If someone out there is watching this and they're like, "I think I said that," I apologize. Because
this is the car business. Everyone's going to take credit for saying it if it's a good thing you say.
If you said it, take credit. That's cool. Whatever. It was something about trying something. And actually, I think this is something, and I've heard it many times, so I apologize if somebody thinks I'm stealing this from someone, but I think I've been hearing this my whole life, is put yourself outside of the box. Do things that make you uncomfortable. So, and I think this is just a good thing in general. I think that you need to be able to laugh at yourself first. And so, like for me, I just talked to a good friend of mine who's going to be watching this, and he said, make sure you hold the camera up. I said, why? So you don't see my nose hairs? I'm like, can you see them? I can laugh at myself more than I even want to laugh at anybody else. Because for one, I think I'm freaking hilarious. And for two, I'm really comfortable in my own skin. Sure. And I don't get bothered by what, people say or whatever. I mean, I know I'm cool. It's all good. I'm also a big dork. So with that, I would tell somebody who maybe struggles with humor, I would say, go do something that like makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Go and I don't even know. Reach outside of yourself.
It's like, we've had him on the show a couple of times, Coach Michael Burt, and in his training, he says, hey, I need you to write down like the 5 things that you want to do that are going to get you out of your atmosphere. Like, you know, name 5 cities you want to go and visit that are somewhere you've never been before. Or, you know, just kind of breaking the cycle of the routine, of the comfort zone. Just get outside of yourself. And as you do, when you return, you will never be the same individual because you've expanded. You've allowed yourself to expand.
Absolutely. Go and volunteer at something that, like, if you're go volunteer and throw yourself out on a funny video. And I mean, I'm not saying do anything crazy stupid, but just do something that makes you feel a little nervous. A while ago, I posted a video of myself singing, and why I am so nervous about that. But I remember taping it and going, wow, I haven't had this feeling in a long time. Like, holy crap, holy crap, holy crap. And I posted it, and people were like, why are you so worried? And I'm like, I really wasn't worried, but it was just something that made me feel uncomfortable. And I said, I actually enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing something again, you know, that, because I throw myself out there all the time.
I'm gonna have to find that and post a link to it too, because what I'm hoping is like it's like full on ear, like, you know, doing the the Beyonce.
We can start a duet right now, and then people can
hit a little Lionel Richie or something like that. You know, I love this because these are everyday real things. I think oftentimes, and what I'll say to that is, there's an authenticity to it. You are comfortable with who you are, and that brings in a layer of authenticity that I think a lot of people are still trying to figure out. I mean, I know from my own personal experience, trying to be myself and not be afraid to let who I am with my quirks and, like you said, the dork factor, and because I mean, I was always trying to be like this, you know, the 3-piece suit guy. And don't get me wrong, I mean, if I could get my wife to sew me a pair of suit jammas, I would be all in because I love wearing suits. But who I am every day is not the suit wearer, you know, the intimidator, like, hello and welcome to my, you know. And so what you're saying about this, I think people need to just pause and take a minute and say, you know what, like, who am I really? Like, what am I really into? Like, forget the money, forget the dealership for a second. Like, who am I? And I'm not suggesting, oh, I've gone on this path of self-discovery and all of a sudden I don't think I fit with the car business anymore. Right. I'm saying, like, how can I bring myself into this store to be a unique experience for the customers? And I mean, I think that's what we're talking about here is providing that unique experience for the customers. But let me ask you this, transitioning now from great customer service in the ideal situation. You mentioned earlier, there's going to be customers that come in that already have a chip on their shoulder.
Yep.
You know, they walk in and they're like, I hate your stupid face. And you know, there's nothing you can do about it. How do you de-escalate this? I mean, laughter's a good equalizer, but for that person that's just like, you know, hit the punchline, I don't want the setup. How do you de-escalate these types of situations? Or maybe somebody that's not pleased with something after they've bought from you. I mean, how do you deal with those sorts of things?
I think that, so if I start with the person coming in that is really, really has a guard up, you know, in my experience on the floor, there are really less customers like this than there are. And I don't want to say good or bad customers. There's less customers specifically like that than there are ones that are open to communication. Sure. So, but if you do get that one once in a while, you know, and if you try and say, oh, hey, you know, welcome in and da 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 da, and it's just not working. There's a couple things you could do. First off, if you think it's a personality, like a true just personality conflict for whatever reason, you think that this person and you just aren't going to see eye to eye, hand them off. Don't ruin your day. Don't lose the sale. Don't do that. It's not worth it to you as a salesperson. If that's the genuine reason why this is going south, there's just something about the two personalities that don't mix. But let's say this person, just one of these really, really rare customers that just has no time for anybody. You cut your communication style to very short, direct, and to the point. And if this customer is just proving that that's how they want to be communicated with, then communicate with them that way. And I'm not saying insult them, call them. I have completely eliminated words in my vocabulary as to, you know, tire kicker, stroke, all those. I hate those terms. I hate those terms because they are people in front of us. They are customers, and sometimes I really empathize with those customers that come in that are kind of direct, because I put myself in their shoes and I go, I might be this way too. So
Fair.
I just change my communication style a little bit. If they want their time respected, I just make it as direct and I guess as short as they would like it to be. But I do find that those are definitely the minority of customers, definitely. But just even if you get someone that really like gets your blood to boil right away, take a second to step back before you say something, and then just say, and just remember that I believe that the reason we get those customers once in a while is because this industry has kind of created it. And so I do have just the tiniest bit of empathy for them as well. And so when I walk away, I go, that customer is a pain. It's frustrating. It's a headache. And I go and maybe, go and scream outside or do what I need to do. But in the end, I realized that, hey, you know what? Maybe they were having a bad day.
And I was just going to say, how do we know that the reason they're in your store is because their other family vehicle is beyond repair and they're annoyed that they have to buy a new car? And, there's just a variety of factors always going on in everyone's lives.
A lot of money, and money doesn't come easy nowadays. And it's scary. It is scary. I mean, put yourself in the position at all times going, what if I had to part with 30 grand right now? What if I had to? Would I walk in and be all cheery too? I can't
You're
say that I would.
You're talking to the guy that has trouble parting with the 79-cent Slurpee, Why did I buy this?
Yeah. I mean, totally. So we have to empathize a little bit. And, there's some things that are inexcusable. I don't let customers walk over me. I don't let them insult me. I definitely stand my ground. There's a clear line, and I will make it known to these customers, but I respect their individuality as being, sometimes you're going to come across people that don't have the best day, because in a service industry, part of being a service is we do deal with customers sometimes at their worst points,
Mm-hmm.
But we have so many good ones that we don't even have to worry about those ones.
Well, and you said something about dealing with maybe that just personality conflict. You said hand them off. Mm-hmm. And what intrigues me about this is almost like this is an internal culture / growth hack. Because, if you're not worried about handing a customer off and you realize it's the best thing for them, hopefully you have sales or a team with you that are also going to feel comfortable doing the same thing. And in that way, you kind of create this true team culture. I think a lot of people use the word team because it makes us all feel warm and fuzzy, but we don't actually know what that looks like. But this is a real teammate play here where it's like, hey, you know what? We're just not grooving here. I'd rather have them work with you and have a good experience with you because I think you guys will get along well than me just trying to bang through for the money. It becomes all about the money. You forget about the individual. And then that just detracts from what you said earlier about, hey, I'm concerned about the first, second, third, fourth sale, not just this one-off.
Right. Yeah, I would say, even whether you look at it as a little bit of a selfish motive to save your own sanity from that customer, or you look at it as giving them the best customer service, either way, it's the best for the scenario. I've had customers that have killed many deals for me because I fight to get them sold, and but then they mess with your psyche for 3 days. And so then it's like, you have to kind of look at that and go, okay, if this is a true personality conflict, if this is truly something where this customer and I are going to be tense the whole entire time and it's a 4-day process, and is it really worth it for me as a salesperson? And those, like I said, I don't think those customers are super common. So, but I would say if that was the case, I would do it. I for my own sanity, I guess.
I have one last question, and then I'm gonna turn it over so you can let us know how to get in touch with you. I know there's going to be a ton of people who have lots of questions. This is all real life in-store environment, customer service. We've had a ton of valuable information. The listening thing alone, I just want to title this episode "Listen," because I think that's something we don't do enough of. I remember reading. Is it How to Win Friends and Influence People? Don't quote me on this, but it's basically like, hey, you have 2 ears and one mouth, use them proportionately, sort of a thing. So that's powerful. But now coming into the virtual world, which is still real life.
Sure. It is. Absolutely.
How have you found, or let me think about what I'm asking here. How do you not turn into a robot when you use things like social media? Because I think a lot of people, I've said this before on the show, they sit down at the keyboard and it all of a sudden, like, you know, transfigures them to this alternate reality where stupidity is okay.
Yeah.
And they go, hey, you should be here. Hey, buy from me. Hey, 0.9% APR fine. Dude, everybody's saying that crap. Or, you know, or they try and get a little controversial because they think that builds an audience and they try and complain about crap. How do you not turn into a robot on social?
So my own personal social media is, I just tell people I make a lot of noise. I make a lot of happy noise. And I always go back and say happy because I am not about the negativity on social media. I just make a lot of happy noise. I go out there and when I see stuff that I like it. I share it. I just figure that it's just an extension of my real life, I guess. And social media is amazing. I am one of the biggest advocates for it, but there's a lot of things that it can do bad too. But it is what you make it. And so, yeah, I just make a lot of happy noise. So for that, I think I draw people to maybe follow me just because they, you know, if they want to smile, again, getting back to real life, they usually can pull up my Facebook page and there's usually something goofy or,
which
you know,
I'm
and not
right now.
Do it. Yeah. There's all kinds of fun stuff. I probably posted, who knows, a picture of me dropping my phone yesterday is on my Facebook page. A video of me that I did yesterday. I was trying to say, come buy a car for me. And the phone fell off the dash and I couldn't figure out the radio, but I left it in there because I thought it was hilarious. So it's just about being really real and avoiding the negativity. As far as not being a robot and maybe not doing all those sales things, I think that just comes from, I'm so natural on social media because I grew up with it. I literally am the same age as Mark Zuckerberg. And so I remember in college, I remember when these things began. And so I've been with it since the beginning. So I think for me, it's kind of second nature. I think people that maybe aren't as active on social media struggle with it a little bit because it's confusing to them. For me, it's just like an extension of my personality. So I would just...
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I would just try and tell people, like, you know, if you're gonna post the sales stuff, it's better than nothing, I guess. But just try and put a little personality. Try and title every picture differently, and title it. Think of a funny little title with every picture and every video. Even if you do that one little thing, you'll start to get people to maybe just kind of go, "Oh, okay, that's kind of cute."
So I wanted to, and I didn't mean to cut you off, by the way, but
okay.
As you were talking about this and about your social strategy, I received a message from a sales professional. I'm not sure what state they're from. We'll change her name to not her real name. Let's call her Molly.
Okay.
But she sent a message and she said, "Hey, look, here's something that I heard on a salesperson training or whatever I was on. And they said, when it comes to social media, send a friend request to your customers so that they can be connected with you and all these sorts of things." So here's what she says, and I want to get your take and maybe what you think could be done differently. Just diving in. Now, Dr. Bannor is in. I've been waiting to say that. Molly says, "I heard someone say that they friend request everyone that comes in on their lot or that buys from them or whatever. So I did that. I post lots of videos and I have leads come in to the dealership because of my videos that I post." She says, "But I had a man come in and I sent him a friend request, as I do for everybody. His wife called my boss crying and upset and said she was going to blast me in the dealership for adding him. I felt hurt. My boss talked to me about it and said, basically said, stop doing that. I'm upset about the whole situation. I wasn't doing anything but trying to market myself on social media, and my intent wasn't anything malicious." So this is, again, I think I bring this up because it's a real world example of, I think, things that people are doing out there. It's put her in a position where there was the one, not the many, who called her out on this. Is this a strategy that you would say works, or what alterations would you make to that strategy so that this becomes something that continues to produce for
Right.
Molly?
Okay, so my first question to Molly in this specific scenario would be, it sounds like the husband was in the store without the wife. And most vehicle purchases, and not all, I get it, but most, when there's a husband and wife, are both there. So I'm guessing that this person probably came in and maybe didn't make a purchase. They maybe were just shopping. They maybe were something like that, and you're their salesperson. So my question at that point would just be like, was she aware that he was shopping? Who knows what the scenario is. So maybe just limit it to customers who purchase vehicles. I don't friend all of my customers. I friend some of them. Yes, I definitely friend some of them. And the one thing I say, just that you have to understand about Facebook before you friend anybody, I don't care if it's friend, relative, or anything, is you have to know who is seeing what you post. Because you can actually, like, I have my real life friends, and if you're at all affiliated with where I work, you're not in I'm talking like family and friends from high school.
Yeah.
I have them at a different setting on my Facebook than customers, coworkers, and everything. Now, I've gotten to the point where I everything I post, I don't even, there's not a difference. However, there was a time in my life when there was a time in my life when I did like to share, like a picture of, I don't know, like me and having a beer at a concert, okay, or something. Or it's not necessarily bad, but I don't want that affiliated at all with work, with customers, with anything. So you have to know who is seeing what. And I've even heard comments from professionals, or I guess, I don't know if there are social media, however I want to say this. Like, I've heard people that I thought understood social media pretty well saying, well, I posted that on my personal site. And I'm like, I don't care where you post it. I'm seeing it right now. So it doesn't, nobody's going to look at what you post and go, oh, well, that's okay that she said that, because that's on her private, or that's on her personal Facebook versus her. But they're not going to care. If they see it, they don't care where it comes from. Right. So just know what people see. So as far as the question about friending, really take a hard look at your own Facebook. Take a hard look at your own social media. Look at it from a perspective of somebody that's not your friend or relative. Look at it from a public view right now and say, is this something that if I was my own desk manager or I was the owner of this dealership, would I be okay with customers seeing this? And if that's the case, and then it might be an unfortunate situation where this, and who knows what's going on with that guy and his wife. We don't know. That might just be an unfortunate situation.
Sure.
But if you have something on there that your work would not condone, then it's on you. It is on you. I think that we have to represent where we work and what we do just as well on social media as we do in real life.
Would you consider having a separate business page for yourself?
I do have a separate business page. Yeah, you can. It's Just a Girl Selling Cars.
How'd you come up with that? I'm curious. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's a funny story. I actually started a group and it said you have to name this group. And I'm like, I have to name this group. Okay, I'll just put Just a Girl Selling Cars. And it literally stuck. And when I went to change it, I had people saying, don't you dare change it. So now it's my total.
It's our beacon of hope. Don't mess with the Statue of Liberty, man.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess it's about a year old now. So.
Hey, you know what? This has been so much fun. I could keep going because I just love the exchange today. So much valuable information from top to bottom. For those of you that are considering, okay, what can I do? What's the next step that I can take? Have a listen, man. Like always, I'm sitting here with a page full of notes from my new friend Amy Bannor, Just a Girl Selling Cars. So, Amy, let me turn it over to you one last time. How can those listening or watching on YouTube, how can they get in touch with you?
Probably the best way is just to go to Google and Google either Amy Bannor, which is Bannor, or just Google Just a Girl Selling Cars. I hashtag that everywhere, and it will take you to me. Somehow, some way, it will get you to where you want to go. But I'm heavily on Facebook. Also, link me on LinkedIn. I enjoy LinkedIn quite a bit too. I think it's a nice professional page, and I've written some fun articles out there. So yeah, LinkedIn or Facebook are my two top. Otherwise, you can try Snapchat, and I don't do that one much, or any of the other ones. Twitter, I try, but I don't tweet well. So
basically, let me Google that for you. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. I'm probably just going to do that as the link for people to get in touch with you.
Let me Google Amy Bannor.
Love it. Hey, thanks so much for joining me on the Dealer Playbook.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
All right, that was Amy Bannor, aka Just a Girl Selling Cars on the Dealer Playbook. You know, some of the things that I really enjoyed about what she had to say. First and foremost, the fact that she's pounding the front lines day in and day out gives this really genuine look at some of the things that she's doing currently that are working for her to build relationships of trust, which, you know, we are huge on here at the Dealer Playbook. How to de-escalate customers. I loved her positive outlook on the industry and what's happening and not focusing on the negative. I love that she is kind of an ambassador for positivity. So when you check out, you know, her social profiles, you're just going to see, like she said, things that make her happy, that she hopes will make you happy. And, you know, that really resonates with me because I think it's so important to be a positive impact on your community. That's how you're going to rise up. There's so much negativity all around us in the world, but guess what? There's just that much positivity as well. It's just we got to make more noise with it. So if you'd like to get a hold of Amy or reach out to her, ask any questions, I'm going to link all of her social profiles over at thedealerplaybook.com. For those of you that have joined me on iTunes, thank you so much. I would love a review. It's like my oxygen. And if you're watching here on YouTube, go ahead and click the subscribe button so you can get notifications when new episodes drop. Super appreciative of all your support. And until next time, guys, keep the playbook open and dominate.